If I had a magic wand, this is what I would wish for. First, an end to covert methods of depopulation. Secondly, an end to borders. And third, an end to poverty. Governments around the world and the United Nations must shut down all covert methods of depopulation and announce overt population legislation instead, in the form of replacement level fertility. That is to say, just 2 children per woman, as a global law and a planetary security prerogative, so that we reach population peak at 2050, by 2050 at around 9 or at most 10 billion people, and then gradually decrease to a sustainable level by the middle of next century, without excluding anyone from the cycle of procreation and without doing any damage whatsoever to the genetic and intellectual endowment of humanity, which is what is happening now. This will enable us to live with a clean conscience as global citizens who consider not only our own well-being, but the well-being of future generations and the well-being of the entire planet in equal measure to our own well-being. This restore integrity in government and our rights and liberties, the rule of law, and democratic checks and balances, all of which have been lost. More importantly, this will put an end to illness and corruption, restoring our individual health and the health of our societies. I don't want to see this anymore, but this. I want to bury the nation state. I want people to evolve a global consciousness and abandon all dated loyalties that no longer serve us well, so that we can move away from the nation state towards a united global community and a single global government. This will enable us to share resources equally across the globe, dissolve all armed forces, and live in a borderless world without the threat of war and the misery of want. And that would make the world our oyster, and would eliminate countless useless bureaucracies and the obstacles that they place in our freedom of movement, so that we can live and work as and if it suits us. I don't want to live in this anymore, but this. And national independence no longer makes sense. It stands in the way of global cooperation and entrenches economic differences. It stands in the way of resource sharing and environmental protection, and gives the rich the ability to pit the poor against the poor by taking advantage of wage differences between nations. It forces civilization to hobble along with more than 100 currencies and thus waste a good chunk of our labor on feeding speculators. And it keeps us in a state of perpetual fear and suspicion lest our neighbors invade us and rape our women and land. National and the nation state is a relic of the past. I am an unapologetic globalist and live for the day when all borders are gone and all people are one. I want to also eradicate all poverty. I want to see an end to poverty and the misery it condemns billions of people across the world. Extreme poverty cannot be eradicated unless we also eradicate the for what constitutes extreme poverty and obscene wealth is not specific numbers, since both wealth and poverty are relative, but a specific ratio that we must agree upon and uphold. And this specific ratio, in my opinion, should be 1 to 10. Only when such a ratio is realized across the world will poverty be eradicated. Poverty will not come to an end unless the incomes of the richest are tied at the hip with the incomes of the poorest by this unbreakable ratio of, say, 1 to 10. So I want the economy, from the local to the national to the global level, to reflect this, and to be subjected to this ratio of incomes, so the richest in society cannot earn more than 10 times of what the poorest in society earn. This will not only eradicate poverty, it will also universalize prosperity and serve as the glue of civilization, binding us all in common cause. The changes that are necessary to eradicate extreme poverty cannot be just cosmetic, marginal, or numeric. They must be fundamental, far-reaching, and systemic, for they must be capable of tackling poverty within and between nations. The existing monetary and economic models must therefore be abandoned, since they are responsible for the advancement and entrenchment of poverty, and an entirely new system must be put in place so that this system can transform economics and finance from handmaidens of profit into guardians of social harmony. I don't want to see or tolerate this anymore, but only this. We can have a healthy planet and a happy society, but only if we make the right decisions, if we cooperate globally, and if we care for one another regardless of where we happen to live on this planet. We all belong to the same species and share the same Earth. We must therefore behave accordingly. Thank you.